Welcome to the Home and Hustle podcast. If you're balancing a home, family, work, maybe even a business, and still feel like you're constantly trying to keep up, you're in the right place. I'm Emily. Let's get into it. Hi, and welcome back to the Home and Hustle podcast. I'm Emily. Thank you so much for being here. It is Saturday, April the 4th, and I say that because what we are going to talk about today, which are the differences in prices between Hawaii and the mainland, specifically North Carolina. The date is important because, as you know, the cost of goods sold and rent prices, things are so highly variable that if you're looking at this 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, and you've just happened to Google differences in prices to live in Hawaii and you found this video or this podcast, chances are the costs have changed a lot. But you can do your own quick research. Use the internet, use your phone. Here on Hawaii, the big grocery store chains are Safeway, Foodland, there's a Harris Teeter, there's Whole Foods. So depending on where you shop back home, pull up those apps or go to those websites, fill up a cart with what you normally buy in your home zip code location, then switch the location where you would pick up your groceries to be 96822, which is where we are here in Honolulu, and see what the difference in price is going to be. Quick, easy way in order to do a price check between where you live now and Hawaii. Okay. The other thing is Hawaii has a lot of additional taxes that they pass on to the sellers of goods and services. It's called a general excise tax, which can be up to like 4.75%. And the companies that have to spend that on a regular basis pass that cost along to the consumers. In North Carolina, we do not have a state sales tax that applies to groceries. And so a lot of the tax burden that we have here in Hawaii, we don't have in North Carolina. We just have up to like a 2% local tax, and that's variable based on where you are in the state. And so this general excise tax at almost 5% today is significant based on what you're consuming. Okay. So consider that whenever you're moving here and maybe do some research on what the general excise tax applies to and not. All right. But let's talk a little bit. I've got a little slide deck that I'm going to take us through a couple things, including a grocery store run on quick 20 things that we buy regularly. But let's talk about rent first. So here in Hawaii, I did a quick search on apartments.com. What's the average rent in Honolulu for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment? And it came back $3,500 to $3,800 per month. In rural Eastern North Carolina, New Bern specifically, where we live full time, I did that same search and it was $1,300 to $1,600 ish. Huge difference in just the cost of living for a roof over your head. And I say that because it's very true. We are living it today. This place that we rented here, which is big enough for me, my husband, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and it is on paper 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. 1 bedroom does not have a closet. So in North Carolina, that wouldn't be considered a bedroom. It's got a little tiny twin bed, and that's about all the room that it has. But we pay more for this place to rent per month than the 3 mortgages that we carry back in North Carolina. So we have our primary residence and we also have 2 rental properties that we own. And the 3 mortgages on those together are not what we pay per month in rent for this place. So it's a lot. The other thing I will say is gas. We are on an island out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Everything has to ship here. If you're used to buying on Amazon, you're not getting same-day delivery. That's not a thing. Companies like, what's the pet company? Chewy does not ship to Hawaii. We used to get our dog Simpirica Trio from Chewy back home, and they would just ship it every couple months so that we were able to stay on top of it. We didn't have to think about it. And they do not ship here to Hawaii. So Wayfair, you are likely going, I did order a couch for us to replace the one in our rental. Long story, but shipping the couch here from Wayfair was more than half the cost of the couch itself. So you're not getting free shipping. If you are an Amazon Prime member, you can get free shipping, but it's not 2-day. It's usually 4 to 5 days. And if someone sends you something or you send something back home, I sent a box like this big. It was smaller than a shoebox back home to a friend of mine, and the cost of me shipping that was $60. And that was for me saying, "I don't care when it gets there, if it can just arrive in one piece." It was almost $200 if I wanted it there within 4 days, right? Because we're talking about air freight versus taking the long boat, right? So just know, getting things back and forth to the island from a postage perspective, getting things from a shipping perspective. If you were going to ship a car or a bike over here, because maybe you've got orders to move from a military base on the mainland and you have orders to move to Hawaii, and you ship a cargo ship full of your things, a motorcycle, a car, what have you, it's going to take 5 to 6 weeks, if not longer, to get all your stuff here. So just consider that from a time perspective when you need to have those things. And just be mindful, because there's a cost to doing that as well. The cost is significant to ship something over here and to ship it back home. So we talked about rent, we talked about shipping and things that you're not going to get here. So just be mindful if you have prescriptions or things like that. Do a quick cursory review before you move to make sure that those places, those companies do ship to Hawaii. The other thing you will see, that whenever companies do promo pricing on cars or jewelry or things like that, we see the commercials all the time on TV. You will see in the fine print at the bottom of those commercials, pricing does not apply, chances are, in Hawaii, Alaska, and states like California, right? So just know that Hawaii and Alaska, because of their geographic location, are not included in a lot of those, because it costs more money to get costs of goods to those places. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this little game situation. I say it's a game because I thought it was cute. Is the price right? Right? Again, it takes a lot of money to move here. Coffee. We always start with coffee. Coffee. Okay, so we have a coffee maker here and we buy ground coffee, but which coffee you buy, the quality, there's highly variable, the price of coffee, correct? So I tried to do something that a lot of people are familiar with. So I just put my Starbucks order in on the app. So you can do this with anything that you use regularly. On the app, my Manoa Valley Starbucks, my venti cappuccino with 1 pump of classic, that is my order, is $6.25. Okay. My same order, just switching the store location to my Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in New Bern, North Carolina, is $5.75. So 50 cents different on my coffee, which over the course of a week is multiple dollars. Okay. So if you're somebody that goes to Starbucks every single day, this adds up. Okay. Gas. Again, we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean here in Hawaii. I pulled this price for the Aloha gas station down the street this morning. The Texaco by the Safeway right down the street, same price. So $5.29 here in Manoa. Same gas, 87 unleaded, was $3.85 at my Speedway at the end of my road back in North Carolina today when I looked at their website. Big difference in gas. And I will say too that you drive different depending on where you live in the United States, right? So if we've lived in Charlotte forever. Charlotte and Hawaii, or no, Honolulu specifically, very similar driving conditions. You have bumper to bumper traffic. You have population overload. There is, depending on what time of day you're driving, whether people are going to work or coming home from work, you can be sitting in traffic for a really long time. It can take 15 minutes to go 2 miles down the road. From here to my Barnes and Noble is 1.8 miles, and I've never had it tell me it would take less than 15 minutes to get there. If I tell you it's gonna take me 15 minutes to get somewhere back home in New Bern, North Carolina, that's because I'm driving 25 miles in order to get there, okay? So, and for perspective, right, from my house in New Bern to where I used to take my kids before we started homeschooling to Arapahoe Charter School was round trip 40 one way 45 minutes. So total an hour and a half for me to get my kids to school and then back home, right? That is because it was almost 40 miles from my house to their school one way, and then I drove the 40 miles back. I put almost 13,000 miles on my car in half a school year. It was a lot because I'm not only driving them to school, my son has epilepsy, so we were not putting them on the bus. I got asked that question literally 2 days ago, but we did not have them on the bus because I didn't want him having an emergency situation on the bus and traumatizing a whole bus full of kids. So we drove them to school. So driving them to school, driving them back, and then I have to go get them and drive them back, right? So it's a big time commitment in the car. Worth it. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and a lot of podcasts. But I say that to say that here in Oahu, you are idling. You are sitting still a lot of time. A lot of traffic lights, a lot of stop signs, a lot of people that are just not familiar with the traffic patterns here in Hawaii. So people are just not very sure of themselves whenever they're on the road. Lots of stop and go traffic. And so, because there's a lot of tourists here, it's a big tourist destination, and that's great. Tourism is a huge part of the economy here, and we need those tourists, but it does impede traffic when traffic is already overwhelmed, when the infrastructure is already overwhelmed. So, for what it's worth, gas costs more, but you're also driving a lot differently in your vehicles and you're not going as far. Oahu, I think from end to end is maybe 35 miles by 33 miles. And back home, I mean, I could fit Oahu in the distance it took me to take my kids to school. So, all right, nail salons. I just went and got my nails done yesterday and they look so good. I found the best nail salon I've been to so far on this island, Nail Story. It's over by University of Hawaii at Manoa. And this is one of two places I have found where Hawaii does better in pricing than New Bern. Okay. So on average, I think this is Friendly Nail Salon in New Bern, North Carolina. And I compare them to like the La Princess Nails, Oak Nails, if you're familiar with that. Nail Story is very similar setup. Okay. But by and large, $7 to $12 difference in manicures, pedicures, eyebrow waxing, whether it's a full set or a fill-in, acrylic or gel. Hawaii is beating, and this is near a college campus. Like they are not for lack of customers, right? But they were full yesterday the entire time I was there. And so, but their prices much cheaper than back in New Bern by about $10 on average, I would say, per service. And so I got, for what it's worth, I got a gel pedicure and I got a fill-in with a French tip, which is usually more. And I paid $83 and that included my $15 tip. So take that for what it's worth. Okay. Nail salons, good quality here in Hawaii. Let's talk about grocery stores. So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. I have 20 items here that are regular things that we put in our grocery cart every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. And I'm going to tell you what the price is here at my Manoa Safeway. And then I went on the foodlion.com app, which there's a Food Lion at the end of my street. That's the one I put in that I was going to pick up groceries from. And I put in the price today. I made these slides today. So a 1 gallon of 1% milk, $3.19 at my Food Lion back home in New Bern, $7.99 at my Safeway here. Okay. And this is based on store brand. So I think this is Lucerne here in Hawaii. And then it was whatever the Food Lion brand was back home. I don't remember. Okay. Biscuits. I have a couple things to say about this. I like to make my biscuits from scratch, but in this rental, I do not have the counter space that I do back home, and it makes me so sad. I also don't have my rolling pin, and I don't have my cutters, which I know I could use a glass, and I could, but again, I don't have the counter space to be rolling out biscuits here. So we have been buying frozen biscuits, and that's fine, except for the fact that you can tell they have been shipped across the high seas, and there has been some level of defrost. 100% of the bags of biscuits that we have bought, I have had to pry apart with a crowbar because they have been defrosted. And then over the course of shipping, they have settled and they're all smushed together. My sister-in-law came a couple weeks ago to spend 2 weeks with us, and we bought biscuits. And both times I am letting them thaw on the counter, and then I'm trying my best to like break them apart. And I'm not gonna lie, that shit gets old. So it is not unbecoming for them to become drop biscuits for me, and I just let them thaw completely. I pull them apart in pieces. I make them into a biscuit form, throw them on the pan, and then they go back in the oven. So just know that if you're going to buy things in the frozen food section, the chances of them having been defrosted and re-frozen high. That it goes for your mixed vegetables, your broccoli florets, everything comes with a lot of ice in the bag. Everything is one big blob, and then you're gonna let it defrost before you choose to prepare it. Okay? If you want it to look a certain way. If you're throwing it in a soup, it doesn't really matter. But this package of 20 Grand's biscuits here in North Carolina is $4.99, and we cannot buy packs of 20 here on Oahu. So at my Safeway, all they come in is packs of 12, and my pack of 12 is $7.99. So big difference in the cost of biscuits. Flour. Again, I looked at Safeway flour and Food Lion, just store brand flour on was that a 5-pound bag or 2-pound bag? $1.79. I did make sure my weights were the same, with the exception of the biscuits. All the counts or the weight is the same. $1.79 in New Bern, North Carolina, $4.99 here on the island. It's a lot. Eggs, $1.99 for store brand eggs in North Carolina, $6.79 for the same dozen eggs. And I believe there was a coupon in the Safeway app that, just because I'm a member, always accepts and clips the coupons. And I believe it was like $1.50 off eggs if you bought a Coke product. And so this is even a discounted price from what eggs usually are here on the island. Again, everything has to ship, okay? Sugar, based on a 4-pound bag of store brand sugar. I even went to Ching Sugar in New Bern. Very similar price point here. $3.19 in New Bern, North Carolina, $4.49 here in Hawaii. Cheese. The next 3 ingredients will be the ingredients to make sausage balls. Okay, we buy a lot of cheese. I buy Bisquick and I buy sausage because sausage balls are a staple in my family, not only at the holidays, but here on island, we have learned they are quick breakfast. They're something that's super portable. If you want a sausage ball recipe, let me know. I'd love to share it with you. But 16 ounces of extra sharp cheddar cheese at home is $3.79. And here in Hawaii, it is $7.49. Don't buy pre-shredded cheese. Shred your own cheese. Okay. There are several things as a Southerner and as somebody who cooks a lot does. I shred my own cheese, and there are certain products that I will only buy name brand, like Duke's mayonnaise. There is no other mayonnaise. Okay. Same with Bisquick. I have been known to make my own Bisquick when I run out, but Bisquick is what I'm buying. Jimmy Dean sausage, 1 pound of Jimmy Dean sausage, 16 ounces, $3.59 back home in North Carolina, $8.49 here on the island. Okay. Bisquick. So Bisquick, sausage, cheese. That's the sausage ball. So good. 40-ounce box, because you have to have a family size. You have to. I don't know who's buying smaller packages of Bisquick, but $3.59 back home in North Carolina, $5.99 here on the island. Bacon. The biggest disparity in price for bacon. $4.49 for thick cut bacon, a 12-ounce pack. Thick cut bacon, $4.49 back home in North Carolina, $12.79 here on the island. It's a lot. Ground beef, I just went 80/20. Give me an 80/20 and then 1 pound of it. $5.49 back home in North Carolina, $8.99 here in Hawaii. Laundry detergent, I just went with Tide Pods everybody needs laundry detergent. Back home, I'm paying about $20 for this entire thing of 76 pods. Here on the island, you're paying almost $25. Okay. Duke's mayonnaise. There is no other mayonnaise, but we're paying similar price points here. $5.99 back home, $6.99 here. So we're definitely sticking with the Duke's mayonnaise. Onions. So I will just say here, we've just had 2 Kona lows and we're expecting another one this week, but there has been catastrophic winds and flooding here on Honolulu. And I know it's impacted all the islands, but a lot of the agriculture on Oahu is on the North Shore, which has been completely devastated in the floods that happened a couple weeks ago. And we're expecting more flooding going into this week. There are storms out in the Pacific that they are keeping an eye on, but we are expecting them to hit again this coming week. And people are bracing for it, but they've already said most all of the native agriculture here, pineapples, things that are grown here on island, there's just not going to be an ag season this year for a lot of that because it was just completely wiped out in the flooding that happened a couple weeks ago. So a lot of the produce here is going to have to be shipped. Things that we would normally have at farmers markets. The farmers market, like 3 months ago, back around the holidays, full, lots of vendors because it's warm, temperate outside, right? But like full, lots of tables, lots of everything. I went by the farmers market a day or so ago here in Manoa, and it was very few tables of people out there. But people are still recovering. And again, there's not going to be a huge agriculture environment this year for people to be able to buy from just because it was completely devastated in all the flooding. So if you come here for a vacation, please look for ways to help. There are still beach cleanups happening 2 weeks later. There are still areas around Oahu where you should not swim because of sewage runoff and leptospirosis that's still in the water at high levels. So just be careful. Make sure you research before you come out. But just know that anything that you buy on the outskirts of a grocery store, things that are fresh, produce, things that are cold, milk, dairy, cheeses, meats, all of that stuff is going to be higher in price, especially, and I can only see these prices increasing, the disparity between the mainland and here because of these storms that we've just had back to back. And again, we're expecting another one this week. So an onion, this is per pound, the next couple. An onion, we got 99 cents per pound back in North Carolina. They're $2.49 per pound here on the island. Bananas, 50 cents per pound back in North Carolina and $1.49 per pound here on the island. Chocolate chips, I could not get over the price of chocolate chips. And my daughter loves yogurt with chocolate chips in it as a snack. And we make chocolate chip cookies, and I put chocolate chips in our Christmas baking and all of the things. And $3.79, like it's not even $5 back home ever. And that's even when prices go up. Here, you're looking at 10, 12. And if you want Ghirardelli chocolates, you're looking at $13, $14 per bag. So chocolate chips, astronomical here. Spaghetti noodles, not very different. $1.99 in North Carolina, $2.79 here. Spaghetti sauce, I just go with Rouse. We like this is a picture of the marinara, but we like the roasted garlic. And it's $6.99 back home, and here on the island it's $8.99. Dog food. We use a healthy weight dog food here. I don't necessarily use Beneful. We get our dog food because my dogs have to be bougie from somewhere else, but just for the sake of this exercise and comparing prices back home, you could get this 14-pound bag of Beneful healthy weight dog food for $16.49 at our Food Lion. And here on the island is $25.99. It's a lot. Beer. We got to have beer. My husband loves IPAs, and I looked for an IPA that you could get both back home and here. This is from Sierra Nevada, hazy little thing. And back home, it's $12 for a 12-pack. And here on the island, it is $25. Again, highly variable. There are amazing breweries here. You've got Kona Brewing. You've got Aloha Brewing. You've got Oh, Maui, like you've got so many different breweries here. 4 packs of Chihu and things like that are definitely less expensive. I just wanted to compare apples to apples here, but know that Sierra Nevada had to come a long way to get out here. But there are amazing local breweries here that have really great beer. Okay. But this is just for comparison purposes. Wine. Wine and nail salons is where Hawaii is looking out for the queens on this island. Okay. I just picked the Snoop Cali Red from 19 Crimes. It's one of my favorites. I always think of my friend Amy when I drink it. And it is $12.99 in Food Lion back home. It is $11.99 here on the island. The other thing I will say is that our grocery stores here, you can buy hard liquor. You can buy tequila. You can buy anything you'd buy at an ABC store. You just buy in the beer section here in North Carolina. That is not a thing. We're deeply embedded in the Bible Belt. And you can also buy beer and wine anytime between like 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. here on the island, or 10 p.m. And then back home on Sundays, it's afternoon. So just know that, but we have ABC stores back home in North Carolina that is for alcohol. It's the average alcohol beverage something. And then probably Coalition or something, corporation, whatever. ABC back home is where you buy your alcohol. ABC here on the island, you can buy beer, alcohol, liquor, wine, like you can buy all the things. You can also buy tobacco and shot glasses, t-shirts and boogie boards. Like it's a novelty tourists like buy your souvenirs here, shop here on the island. So I love the fact that I can go to the grocery store and get eggs and bread and milk. I should have done bread. Bread's not very different between the islands in here, or the mainland in here. But I will say that I love being able to go to the grocery store and get all my things versus back home. I have to say I have going to the grocery store at this time because this store, the ABC store, is not going to be open until noon, and I can get this after that time, right? Like you're timing things back home because you can't get it all in one place. So there's that. So for 20 items, these 20 items from milk to wine, we have $185.03 for what I would pay for that right down the street at my Safeway. That same bill is $119.73 in the Food Lion 7 miles from my house. Okay. Big difference there in groceries. A couple fun facts. Groceries in Hawaii, like I said at the top, are subject to this general excise tax. It's called the GET tax, if you hear that. And it can be up to 4.5% for businesses on the cost of goods sold. And grocery stores typically pass that along to the consumer, as they would, right? Because the GET tax is leveraged at every stage of the supply chain. So whenever the grocery stores are buying it from the warehouse buys it from the actual producer, whether it's a crop or a farm or what have you. It's getting taxed at the farm to the warehouse to the distributor to the grocery store. It's getting taxed at every single one of those levels, which is what can increase the cost of goods here on the island so much. Okay. It's a cumulative tax burden on everything that's sold here. In North Carolina, groceries are exempt from the 4.75 today state sales tax. There is a 2% local state tax if your county or local area chooses to implement that. Again, North Carolina grocery stores do not sell liquor, but the grocery stores in Hawaii do, which is a good thing. And then most places in Hawaii offer a 3 to 10% discount, which we talked about, if you pay cash and don't use a credit or a debit card. So there's that. And I will say that the debit cards are not subject to the credit card fees, which you would think, right? But they are still subject to that GET tax on nail services and things like that. And my nail salon, she actually told me yesterday, because I didn't have cash on me, if I come back and pay cash next time, they offer a 7% discount on top of their already prices that are lower than back home. So for paying cash. So I'll be taking cash next time. All right. That was my little Price is Right situation. Again, the cost of living here is not like, it's something that you have to consider because everything is more expensive. The other night, I took my son to go see the new Mario movie at the movie theater, and the movie theater is 1.8 miles from here, and our Uber ride, we have one rental car that we're renting, and so I left it with my husband and my daughter in case they wanted to go somewhere for dinner, and we Ubered down to the movie theater, 1.8 miles from my house to the theater, and our Uber was 30 bucks. So everything is more expensive here. And we were going to a theater down in Waikiki just because that's the closest one to us. But again, everything that you want to do here on island, just do a little research. And depending on where you are on the mainland, whether you're in a big urban area like Atlanta, Chicago, New York, Charlotte, like those prices in those areas are going to be more comparable to the prices here on island versus somewhere like where we live out in rural eastern North Carolina. Like just the disparity is so different because the cost of living is just so different. So again, we have talked about it, my husband and I, eating out. It's very similar to being in Charlotte. The prices of things at the grocery store very similar to when we lived in Charlotte. So again, not something that everyone needs to like, oh my gosh, this is something that from a economics perspective kind of takes us out of the running to be able to do. That's not true. There are people here that do all kinds of things for work and they make it work, right? So you can always there's always going to be a cost to being able to make something happen for you. And you just got to be willing to accept that cost, whether it's shopping at a different grocery store, whether it is maybe making a coffee creamer that you normally would buy from the grocery store. The ingredients may be cheaper than the whole product and better for you. There's a cost to the health of those products as well. So just do your research. This is just what we have experienced. But that's not to say that it's not doable for everyone if you have a desire to want to come out and spend some time here longer than just a vacation. So with that, I'm going to conclude this episode, and I thank you so much for being here. If you're still here, please like and subscribe. And if you know someone that's getting ready to travel to or move to Hawaii and you think they would find this information helpful, please forward it to them. I would love for you to share this. And until we talk next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.